Hey friends, today I'm going to do a video on how to make a super easy Valentine's Day card with materials and supplies that you probably already have. This is a really kid-friendly card. So all you're going to need to make this card is you're going to need a card base of some kind to glue this. You're making just like a topper to glue onto the front of your card. So I have my card base already ready to go, and I'll put that aside. And then what I'm going to do with this piece of card is I'm going to cut this down so that it fits on top of my card. But I'm going to do that afterwards because this is exactly the same size as my card front. But I would like to leave a little white border around it, and I'm going to just wait to cut it until I've kind of decorated it first. You're going to maybe need a ruler and a pencil, something that you can erase. So you're going to need markers. If you have markers, you can do that. But I also have up here, I have some washi tapes, all different kinds of, these are like Valentine's washi tapes, different colors. You could choose to use like a rainbow. You could choose to use, pink and red colors, all different kinds of patterns if you want to. Just try to find things that kind of go well together, the colors blend well together. I have some rainbow colored markers here just as an example, but I'm going to use, the kind of traditional Valentine's colors. And then I do have a couple of a gold and a silver Sharpie, metallic Sharpie. You don't have to use those if you don't have them. You could also do this instead of with markers or with washi. You could use little strips of paper that you have already cut out of different patterned paper, like your scraps. I don't have that on hand right now, but I could. So that's just one of the ideas that you could do with this. You could also, instead of using markers or washi, you could get out like little tiny word stamps and do it that way and just stamp your word stamps across the page. But we'll get into that and some of the options once we get started. So gather your supplies and meet me back here, and then we'll get started with designing this and how you can do it two different ways depending on whether you want a card that is going to be a portrait or vertical, or if you want a card that's going to be horizontal. So start thinking about that and whether or not you want your design to be standing up or sideways. Okay, so first I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and, in my case, I want mine to be a horizontal card. So what I'm going to do is take my ruler and my pencil, and I'm just going to put my pencil marks on the side of my paper however frequently I want, because I'm going to be making stripes on this paper. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I want my stripes to go vertically or horizontally. So I'm going to put my stripes on this side so that if I mark my pencil here on this side of the paper, then I will be making my stripes this way. So I'm going to do sort of thin lines because I'm just going to be filling this in with my markers, and I don't want to dry out my markers. You could do this with construction paper and like any Crayola markers. You could do it with even crayons or colored pencils, whatever you have on hand. It happens that I have Sharpies. I have tons of Sharpies for some reason. People just give me their Sharpies when they leave, when they move away or something. So I'm going to do, I think I'm going to do like every ½ inch across my paper here. Alright, so I have my marks on this side, and I'm going to go ahead and put my marks on the other side as well so that I can connect my lines. So do that. And since this is a 4 1/4 inch, I guess, tall here, I am left with like just a little bit at the bottom. That's okay. So I'm going to connect my lines using my ruler, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I put my marks on there pretty lightly, and you know, it's not perfect, but it's okay, because it's just a guideline for me. And the next thing I'm going to do is color in, and I kind of use this as a little guideline for how I wanted to color it in, but you can figure out whatever pattern or whatever order you want your colors to be in. So I'm going to just go ahead and start coloring in, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I finished coloring in my card. I did want to point out that when I was coloring it in, I wasn't trying to be perfect because I kind of like the handmade look. I think it's okay for cards to look handmade. I think it means you put the effort in to create something from scratch, and I personally think it looks nice. So I just wanted to point out I'm not trying to, you know, get a perfect looking card. It's just whatever it looks like, it's gonna be fine. So you could stop here if you wanted to. You could just glue it down onto your card front and leave it as is, and maybe stamp your sentiment, or even just get a piece of white cardstock and cut out a little heart and glue that on top, and then kind of write down your, you know, love you or whatever it is that you want to say. You could go this direction or this direction, however you want to do that, and put your heart this way or put your heart this way, however you want to do it. But I'm not gonna stop here, and I'm gonna be strategic about how I am going to move forward. But what I'm going to do next is I'm going to cut a heart out of this. I'm going to cut it out where to leave a little bit of a border, but I'm not leaving the, I'm going to make it a pretty big heart because I want to get, you know, like all of the colors in. So I'm going to cut that out, and then I'll come back and show you how I assemble. Because what I want to do is make two cards out of this one piece. One will be the border only with an empty white heart in the center, and one will be plain with the colored heart on the outside of the card. I just took a piece of to-do list paper, just thin paper, but you could use computer paper, whatever you have lying around, and I just traced a little heart out a couple of times. As you can see, I traced it out a couple times. It's half the heart. And what I'm gonna do is, since this, I was trying to figure out, okay, how tall do I want my heart to be? And this, since I know this is 4 1/4 inches, I decided that I wanted about a 1/2 inch unused space at the top and bottom. So I measured my paper to be 3 1/4 inches, and then I tried to make my heart no bigger than that, so that I could have plenty of room. And I might cut it out just a little bit more than that, but anyways, that's what I did. So now I'm going to take my paper scissors and cut it out, just to give me a little bit of an idea of how this is going to look. And I can always, when I trace around it, I can always go a little bit wider, and I am going to trace on the back with my pencil, so that way I don't, you know, get any marks on the front side. Okay, I think when I take a look at this and how much space it's going to take up on my heart, I'm not getting into every single, you know, like color sector, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. And I am going to trim this down. Like I said, I am going to have to trim it down about 1/8 of an inch. I think I might cut it down 1/4 of an inch on this side, just so that I have like an even amount of red on it, but that's okay. And so knowing that I'm going to cut it down before I glue it down on my card, I wanted to get it, you know, pretty close to filling up most of my page. And I just cut out a half, because what I'm going to do is just flip it over and cut out the other side. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to draw on the back side, and I'm just going to use my pencil again so that I can cut it out. Okay, so I did my heart drawing. It's kind of hard to see on the back here, but what I'm trying to be strategic about is where I'm going to cut. And I think what I want to see happen, or what I'd ideally like to see happen, is that when I cut this, I cut as few lines as possible, because what's going to happen is either those lines are going to be visible on the front of my card, on the piece that I'm using this the like reverse image on. I'm going to cut out my heart and put that on one card, and then I'm going to have the background left, and I'm going to use that on another card. So I'm trying to be strategic about where that cut mark is going to go, and I think it would make sense to put the cut mark somewhere where it'll blend in with the coloring a little bit. So I could go in from the bottom and then just go around, or I could go in from the top and the bottom. It just depends on how skilled you are at cutting. If you're a kid and you're making this, then you might need to get an adult to help you, or you could fold it in half and cut around your outline mark here, and you'll have a little bit of a line on your card, on your heart. But that's okay too. Nothing wrong with that. If that's the way you want your card to look, that's okay. So I'm trying to think that when I cut my heart out and I just have the outline here, what I would like to do is try to hide that line when I'm gluing it down. Maybe put something else over top of it, like maybe put my sentiment over it or something like that, so that it is kind of seamless or hidden. So I think what I'm gonna do is either go in from here or from here. I'm trying to figure out how low I want my sentiment to be. I think I'm going to go in right here, and I'm going to go in with my smaller scissors. If you don't have smaller scissors, that's okay. You can probably get it done without using smaller scissors, but I'm going to try using these smaller ones. And since I'm having a hard time seeing where that line is, I'm just going to I'm going to do my best here. So if I make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. I just want to try and do my best. So I'm going to speed this part up where I'm cutting it out. Okay, I cut it out. I'm not the best at sort of like fussy cutting, if you will, and it looks good enough to me, but I am going to just kind of clean up the edges that look a little, I don't know, not so nice. The other thing you could do is, if you have like a die cutting machine, or if you have, you know, a punch instead, you could do that. I do have heart-shaped punches, and I do have a die cutting machine, but they don't cut out hearts in this exact shape and size. And I also wanted to do something here that would be easy for anyone, no matter what tools they have to replicate or to recreate. So I'm just gonna, I know that my heart is not exactly the same on both sides, but you know what? Hearts are not symmetrical in real life. Like, actual beating hearts are not symmetrical. So I'm just gonna clean up a little bit in here, because this is gonna be my first card front, and then my card back. I have a little bit here that needs to be cleaned up, but I'm not going to stress on it too much. Again, I am going to clean it up just a little bit where I can see that it needs, like on this side is primarily where it needs to be cleaned up a little bit. And I'm just going to go in there, and I think some of that is just because of the weird angle that I was cutting it out at. It's just kind of really hard to get a smooth cut with your scissors sometimes. So I'm going to do my best to clean that up a little and get it to look just a little less jagged, I guess. So I'll smooth it out maybe, and that'll help too. But it is hard to see that line once I glue it back down. I don't think it'll be visible at all. So here's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to trim this piece down. I said I was going to trim off 1/8 of an inch on this side, and then I'm also going to, or sorry, 1/4 of an inch, because I want 1/8 of an inch border on each side. I'm also going to trim 1/4 or 1/8 of an inch from each side here, top and bottom. Okay, so I have my card base here, and I trimmed this down. I might have trimmed the bottom and the top down, or these sides down a little too much, and that's okay. I can handle that. I might cut this actually down, since I'm looking at it now. I might cut it down just the bottom part where the red is, just a hair more, because I want it to look a little more even, but you can do whatever you want, whatever looks right to you. I just felt like it needed a little. And then I did stick it together on the back, but I used double-sided tape. That caused me a little bit of problems, but so now I'm just making sure where my fold is. I can glue this down on the front. So I'm gonna get my little tape glider, and I'm gonna tape it down all along the edges, because I really want the edges to be nice and secure. Oops. It's stuck. I'm still getting the hang of this tape glider thing. It's a little awkward for me sometimes. It's very, very sticky, and I don't know where to put my hands to hold it down. Okay, I've got my 4 sides, and then I am also gonna just try to do like right around the edge of my heart. If you don't have this tape glider, you can use a glue stick. I just thought I have this and I'm trying to use it up. So I'm trying not to tear it, but it's hard. This tape glider is really sticky. So I might go in with just a teeny tiny dot of liquid glue on the tip of my heart right here, just because I want it to stay. I don't want it to get too wet there, I guess, because this is not super thick paper, but I want to really make sure it stays down. My fingers are getting really stuck to this. This glue just keeps dripping out, so I'm just gonna put it on my finger and wipe it around. I ordinarily wouldn't use a liquid glue on something that's this paper is kind of thin, but I felt like this needed a little something. I would probably, if you're making this with your kids, or if you don't have one of those tape runners like I do, I would probably use a glue stick, because it would be a lot easier to glue it down with that, because you can really get into the crevices. So gluing that down. Already, I love the way this looks. I want to add something to it. It needs a little something, and that could be glitter glue. It could be, I could glue sequins to the front of it. I could put a little something, a saying here. I have tons of little stamps that would be really cute for that. I have like this little stamp that might be cute to put somewhere. So that's why I was saying you could use stamps, because if you had some stamps like this and you have your plain cardstock and you just stamp all over it, and then you go ahead and cut out your heart, then you have 2 pieces. You have your heart with the stamping all over it, and your background piece with all the stamping all over it. So I'm going to get my heart. I think it fell on the floor. And I'm going to glue this one down on my card base, which I need to just fold it over. Get it ready. And I think I want this one to be this way. So in this case, I'm going to use a glue stick so you can see. I have this Elmer's just washable school glue. Nothing fancy. I am trying to make sure though that I get all the way to the edges. And if you're using construction paper, that holds school glue a lot better than computer paper. I think is really thin and tends to warp a little bit more. But whatever you have, use that. You don't really need to go out and buy new products just to make a card, a couple of Valentine's Day cards. Unless you plan on making them all the time, in which case, have at it. I think I got it everywhere. It's hard to tell now. So I'm trying to just place it so that it's in the center of my card here. It's kind of tough. I mean, the nice thing about the glue is that it's repositionable. I think that's pretty close to centered. I like that it's uneven in a weird way. Like, that looks even cuter to me. So I'm going to stop the video now and just kind of do a decorations and fast forward. I think what I'm going to do with this card is put like silver marker Sharpie on top of where the lines are, just to kind of blend them in a little bit. And then on this one, I think I'm going to use some glitter glue, and I have a couple colors. I have gold, I have silver, I have the kind of like I don't know what you call that, holographic or whatever. It's just like sparkly clear. So I'll maybe put that on. I think that is what I usually go with. And then I need to figure out what I'm going to write, or my sentiment. I guess I don't have to write anything, you know, but I do want to put something on it. And I might either stamp a sentiment and put it on in the center, or stamp something and like put it across here. Because I talked about wanting to cover up my line here, but I can barely even see that line. So I don't really feel like it needs to be hidden or covered up. So good job me. I executed it better than I thought I would. I'll be right back. If you don't have silver and gold markers, you could use a black marker to draw the lines here, just to kind of differentiate or, you know, keep them separated. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I think it looks cute and handmade with that really uneven hand-drawn look. The gold didn't quite stand out as much on this as the silver one really kind of pops on this one. And when you're first drawing it on, it doesn't look like it's going to be that shiny. So, and sometimes you have to do like a second line on it to get it to look good. But what I did realize is that after drawing it on top of my cut mark, it's more visible. It might be less visible if you used black instead. So I wanted to point that out because that's something that I picked up as I was going and doing this, and I was like, whoops. But that's okay. You live and you learn. That's how we, you know, find things out. And I don't think it makes the card look any worse. It still looks pretty cute. I'm going to keep on decorating it though. I know that I want to put some glitter glues and things, especially on this one. Now that I'm seeing how dull that gold looks on top of the color, I'm going to add something else to it. I just wanted you to see that despite my best efforts, I totally fudged that up. I didn't lift up, and I haven't used this thing in a super long time, but I want to show you how I'm going to fix it, because I am going to be able to fix it, but it didn't work out quite the way I had expected it to, and I don't want to start this over again. I'm just going to go ahead and cover it up, but I did want to include this in the video so you could see how I fix a mistake like that. And I think this will work. I just put this against my window and then traced it with another blank piece of cardstock. So a simple trick if you don't have a light box, which I don't. Okay, so I just went ahead and stamped a couple of these love you stamp because I have it. But if you wanted to write your own sentiment in the card, you could. I did want to just mention when I was making this card and I was coloring, I was trying to figure out like, oh, I couldn't trace it just perfect or exactly to fit. And it wasn't going to look quite right in my opinion, so I was like, maybe I'll just do like the silver marker around the edge. And then I made a mistake and I was like, well, oh well, I'll color it in. And then I thought, well, how am I going to fix this? Because now I have silver and the silver doesn't quite match and it needs something to like distract your eye from the fact this is filled in. So I thought I would put some of these glitter dots on here. You can use any glitter glue you have and just do dots on it. If you don't want to do that, you could use a paintbrush. You don't have to do everything the same way I did it. If you draw like with a black marker on the card instead of with a silver marker, it probably would look a lot different and maybe it would look better. But anyway, I cut this out because I thought, well, this will go over top of it, and then it kind of camouflages the fact that I had to color it in with my silver marker, and it doesn't, look really nice colored in. It kind of looks sketchy, and I think that's just because this type of marker isn't really designed to be a fill-in marker. It's more of like an accent. But I'm letting this dry before I glue this on top, and I think it'll look cute with this. And I went ahead and stamped a second one just because I wasn't sure if I wanted to use it on this card, but I can. It's here now. I almost don't want to do that. I almost want to do something else or just get another, or maybe just leave it totally blank like this and then like write something on the inside, because keeping it simple like this might be just nice as is. I could go in with this glitter and dot it all over the place, but I feel like that might it's just so nice and simple. I think the only thing that might be useful or worth doing that I would potentially change on this card to keep it less simple would be to do like a really sketchy hand-drawn border all the way around, just to kind of like bring the eye in. But I'm tempted to do that, but I'm a little worried about doing it and then messing it up and then having to like paint over it with the stickles with the glitter glue. I think it could look cute like that, but I don't want to go down the rabbit hole. I kind of want to keep it simple. But that's something that I just, I'm brainstorming, I'm thinking things through, and I wanted to share my thoughts with you. I did mention also, if you have some kind of a die cutting machine or a paper punch, then doing it that way might be less intense, I guess, less manual, and you might get a better result than hand cutting it out. But I did want to show what it could look like if you did it by hand, because I know not everyone has all kinds of these fancy dies and all kinds of punches and all kinds of decorative papers and things, and it still looks really cute without all of those fancy things. In fact, I think even if I had left this circle plain, this circle, I can't talk, this heart shape plain on the inside, if I had not done the stamping and left it plain and then come in with the sticky, or the stickles, the glitter glue to decorate it kind of confetti-like, that would have been just cute, and leaving it blank would have maybe kept it more simple and elegant. I could also see maybe like a sprinkling of sequins on it. Like you could use some sequins that you have. You could easily just come in here and dot on the Sharpie itself, or one of those paint pens. There's a lot of different things you could do with that. You could even, if you're not going to be putting it through the mail, you could use like the gems that you get from craft stores, or you can get them at the dollar store too, or like these little pearls, something like this, and you could stick them down on your card to decorate it, or on this one too, for that matter. I'm not going to do that because I want to keep it simple enough for everyone, like it's accessible for everyone to be able to make it, but I did want to include the parts where I made a mistake so that you can see it's not the end of the world. If you make a mistake, you can find another way around it. I'm going to wait until this dries to glue this on, but I did want you to see how I planned to finish up this card, and then I'm going to leave this one just as is. I think it just looks really simple and cute and elegant the way it is.